Most predictions for 2026 are selling a future where AI suddenly transforms enterprise overnight, right? It's agentic, it's autonomous, it's self-driving everything. I don't think that's what's actually happening. We're entering instead a far more subtle, slower, but more operational shift. And if you don't recognize it, you'll aim your customer experience strategy to a future that isn't arriving yet. I want to break that down a little bit, not going into like, oh, consumers will have agents that will act on their behalf, but really understand like how internal customer experience gets done. And in this video, I'll walk through 3 trends that I'm seeing quietly reshaping how AI is actually showing up at the enterprise. And more importantly, what it means for experience-led organizations. Not the hype, not the demos, but the shifts that are actually showing up, right? That's what we should be talking about. So what do I really think changes in CX in 2026? Let's start with agents, okay? Everyone's talking about the agentic enterprise, fully autonomous systems. All that plans, execute, and optimizes end-to-end customer experience. And that's not going to happen in 2026. We're actually seeing the rise of many narrow agents that do one task really well with quality and precision. The models have been cutting really, really good, and therefore they can deliver quality and consistency. But again, agents are non-deterministic, so there's always this level of validation. But I'll get to that in a second. Agents that classify incoming feedback, agents that flag anomalies in a journey, agents that prepares a discussion brief from the known data sources. These agents don't replace workflows, but they slot into the existing work. There's still a person at the beginning or the end of it. And that's the key point. Adoption happens task by task, and I don't think it happens system by system. Multi-agent orchestration will come, and in some places, in processes, it is already there. But in general, agent stacking is not there yet. But first, organizations need to trust individual agents to execute reliably. For customer experience, that means early wins show up at the edges of the journey, right? Inside specific moments, not across like full end-to-end experience. So the reframe is quite simple. 26 is the year of agent adoption, not agentic transformation. If your plan assumes otherwise, you will overreach. The second thing where it's getting a little bit uncomfortable is that as AI scales analysis at the front work of customer experience, internal alignment, something becomes impossible to ignore. It's like crap in, crap out. And that's why agentic cannot get a foothold in the enterprise today, because the data is so fragmented, unclean, unstructured, and all over the place, that's still a big effort to undertake before we can actually have an agentic enterprise. So in 2026, I'm seeing AI will process more and more data than ever, and most teams will struggle with validation, and that's the bottleneck. It's not creativity, it's not prompting, it's not insight generation. I think the battlefield is data aggregation, enrichment, and contextualization. What data gets pulled in, how it's structured, what it actually represents, but most importantly, the validity of data. One of our customers said, hey, we have 450 gigs of data. Can you process that? So then the logical question is like, okay, but what is the data from? What is it about? What does it say? What does it represent? And I think the answer was not very clear. The answer was not, oh, it's specifically this and that kind of data, and this is what you can do with that. It's more like, here's a big pile of data because we've been collecting, and now we need to activate it, right? And this focus is a big shift for the human plus AI relationships. I mean, humans are no longer insight creators. They become validators. They need to shape the data model. They need to make something that builds trust in the organization so that others can also put their agents on top of that. So the hard questions move from what does the data say to, is this the right data? Is it complete? Is it biased? Can we act on this with confidence? And for customer experience teams, this is a big identity shift. It's almost like you're introducing mixed method researchers at scale, right? Bringing qual and quant together, analyzing it, giving insights from that. And the value therefore moves away from producing more insights towards stewarding insight quality. So the teams will win in 26 are the ones who can say this is trustworthy, not the ones that say like, okay, we actually have interesting data. And the third trend, which is more technical, but I think it's important to understand it, is something called compaction. Compaction is about having AI, at some point, the context window is filled and it can't continue. To summarize it so that it creates a little bit of information for the next agent to take on. And that is called compaction. 3 things are happening in parallel. Context windows are getting bigger. The cost per token keeps dropping, which is great. And AI systems are getting better at leaving traces or summarizing one context window for the next agent, for the next AI to take that and to continue to work. So compaction, as it's called, is when AI realizes it's reaching its context limit, summarizes for itself, opens a new context window, and continues. That changes the nature of work. I mean, maybe you've seen it. A coding agent is spending a whole week on building a browser from scratch without interference of a human. The browser itself is very hard to build, and the end result was like mediocre. But the fact that it could be done is fascinating, right? A whole week. AI no longer has to respond instantly to be useful. It can take time, right? It can pause, it can think, it can have multiple agents executing tasks, and then there's a coordinating agent that is actually helping the others to do work. So this is the step towards agentic, and it enables way longer reasoning change, deeper analysis, and the ability to work across much larger volumes of data. So it's a new mode of collaboration, and that is very fascinating. So asynchronous human and AI work. You don't sit there prompting in real time, you hand off the hard problem, and AI works in the background. It's not fully autonomous to execute, deliver, ship, and make itself better, but it's actually like agents running with a simple instruction, executing a task that is very complicated, takes a lot of effort, and it comes back with something that actually brings everything to life. And for customer experience, that's a profound shift, right? AI stops being like a summarization machine, which it is for many, and it starts behaving like first a junior analyst, then a senior analyst, then maybe more like a teammate who needs to have time to think, reason, and act, much like a human being, except that it's way more efficient, can do way more data, and can do way more tasks in parallel. So let's zoom out. When you put these things together, a pattern emerges, right? Narrow agents handle execution. Humans today shape validation for the data foundations, and AI works asynchronously on deeper reasoning. And I think like that's something that will play out over the next year, right? It changes how customer experience teams and cross-functional teams operate. There's less automation theater, fewer flashy dashboards, more quiet operational gains. And the obsession with like speed starts to fade and is replaced by something more valuable, which is depth, reliability, and the confidence to make decisions. So it becomes less about reacting faster and more about coordinating the systems better between people, data, and agents. And this is where systems thinking starts to matter way more than just tool choice. So let's make this concrete, right? 2026, 3 things that I think will play out when we think about AI and agents. Most customer experience teams will have multiple agents running actions and tasks for them. Almost none will be fully agentic. However, second one, data validation. Governance and model ownership become explicit customer experience responsibilities. It's not just side work, it becomes like a core. And third, I think AI-driven customer experience work slows down, but goes way deeper. I'm not necessarily saying like there's less of it and everything drags. No. What I mean with slowing down is actually that we're not having this like need for speed to just deliver the report, do the summarization, do the analysis quickly, but do deeper work on more data, and it gets more strategic, okay? So that's like the competitive advantage is actually shifting, not from having more insights, but from having insights the business actually trusts because it's based on more data and the data is validated. So 2026 won't reward the boldest AI experiments in customer experience. It will reward the teams that are building foundations and can actually like start scaling on top of that. So if you're leading experience design, customer experience, the question isn't what can we automate? It's really like, what can we trust at scale, or how can we scale trust? And I think that is the real overarching trend for 2026, building systems that are validated, but rely on all the data for humans and AI to actually use as context for their decisions. So that's what I see as a real overarching trend for 2026. Be sure to join us on the podcast as we talk to more leading minds in customer experience and experience design leadership to explore these topics on how they are playing out in their organizations.